Hi, Cindy and Josh here.
Hello.
How's it going? We're
It's
good.
been a while. Yeah.
It has been a while. It's been a few weeks.
Yep.
We've been busy doing lots of things
Lots
and
of planning.
lots of planning.
Yeah.
Yes.
Getting ready to try and give you some more content, and we want to make sure we do it right.
Yes.
And so we've been praying and planning and trying to get some things laid out. So
we're so excited.
Instead of falling too far behind, we figured we better get on here and share some more.
Yeah. So today, hey Eileen. So today, I thought I would bring this up because I had a friend ask me the other day. She asked me if we, how do we work in the traditional roles as husband and wife if we follow traditional norms? And funnily enough, I had a cousin watch one of my videos, our videos, a few weeks ago, and he was like, I think it's the coolest thing that Josh goes grocery shopping. He was like, I was kind of surprised to hear that. And so I'm sure people will be surprised about the way we run our household, and maybe, I don't know, who knows, but we don't fit into, I don't think, a lot of traditional norms. So we want to talk about that today. So I think it's important to first off, when we think of traditional husband and wife norms, what do we think about?
Yeah. I think a lot of it stems from just societal, roles, gender roles, if you will.
Yeah.
I think we've heard the term gender roles in culture recently, and I think a lot of it stems from maybe more the 50s. You had when we were discussing earlier when
Leave It to Beaver.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I think of.
They became more defined then because of just the way where our society was, and I think a lot of those things stuck, and as a result, our society has got in their minds that they're very gender specific roles.
Yeah.
But we're talking about having successful marriage and successful household. And one of the things that's important to be successful is to be dynamic, and to come back around to something as simple as grocery shopping. Why do I go grocery shopping? Well, it's easier for me to go grocery shopping by myself than it is for her to take 6 kids to the grocery store. Could you imagine? And we've got...
Well, yeah, the comments never cease when we go out.
We've gone to a few times, and it's, there's a train.
Are they all yours?
Yes, there's a train walking through the store because we have 6 kids in line, and so me going by myself with the list that she's prepared from doing the meal planning, I in and out, and it works really well. So that's being dynamic. Why does it need to be delegated to a certain individual? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think, typically speaking, we think of the wife. She cooks, she cleans, she grocery shops, and she takes care of the kids. And I would say that the husband's role is typically seen as the one who makes the money. Sometimes their role is also taking care of, like, vehicles, I would assume. Handyman stuff. Sometimes not all men are handy, but they take care of that stuff and make sure it gets fixed, right? Everything's working properly inside the house, more like the building and structure. And then the woman is responsible for everything inside of the structure.
Yeah.
I don't know. And these are really big, broad generalizations, okay? So we're not sitting here saying that that's exactly how everybody sees roles.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of TV portrays this, and I feel like a lot of Christian families really do have it in their heads too. The woman stays at home, and then the husband goes out and makes the money. And then you do see sometimes both parents go out and make the money. And that's fine too. That's what I grew up in. And there's nothing wrong with any of these other roles. But we do want to talk about what we do and why we feel it works best for us. And so never know, it might help somebody else. So we looked up some scriptures. And I mostly went to Proverbs 31 woman. And all these things that I'm talking about, like the typical wife role, it's in Proverbs 31. She cooks, she prepares food, she looks at a field and goes to purchase it. She is wise with her money. She's not afraid. She makes and sells things. So, and that's interesting to me too, because being at home all the time with my kids and cooking and cleaning, I've always thought, like, how on earth can I, like, actually make and sell stuff too? Like, this is a lot. How would I even make that happen? And I'm talking a lot, I'm sorry. But I feel like back in biblical times, it wasn't just the wife. They had servants, they had other people around
Yeah, I
them.
mean, it was a different society altogether,
It
different
was.
different culture. It was, I was looking at the Bible as far as, okay, husbands and fathers and things of that nature, and realistically, the things that you find in the scripture deal more with the way we treat our spouse, the way we treat our children,
Yeah.
training them, disciplining them, loving our wives, things of that nature.
Respecting our husbands.
Yes, when you start getting into the role, you have to do more digging into more cultural studies, biblical culture, the patriarchal culture, and how things passed along. And um, another big difference is simply the economy at the time. It was a very trade heavy culture, and most things were done, such as Joseph was a carpenter. He worked with his hands, and it was very traditional that the sons would carry on in the craft whatever the family did. And so that played a big role in the husband's and father's duty as far as what took place. Another big difference that we were talking about lately is that businesses were ran out of their homes. You know,
Oh, yeah.
it's different now. I get in the car and I leave, and I don't see my family for 10 hours until I come back from home from work.
Yeah.
Whereas back then, it was part of the family dynamic, and so
I think that carried through really until the Industrial Revolution.
yes.
So really, really long, thousands of years of span of time where it worked like this. You had a trade, you passed it down, and the family was more together. It was more of a unit than it was you go out here and you come back with what you need. You go out here, you come back with what we need. They worked together in a lot of ways, and they had more support. I hate saying it, but it's really lonely being a stay-at-home mom. We don't really have somebody we can call on. We don't have somebody who lives in a tent next to us or whatever to help watch our kids, and our kids just don't roam around freely getting help wherever they need to. We're very isolated.
Yeah.
It was just a totally different culture.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what do we do now in the year 2021 where we have a different culture? We can see that the family culture now really isn't as successful as it was back then. I mean, we read the kids, the Little House on the Prairie series,
So
right?
good.
And you can see the family dynamic was still probably more based on more of a biblical culture than our more modern culture. And so we're not asking people to change their lifestyles as far as their jobs and everything like that. What we're asking people to do is consider, okay, what is our family lacking? How can we be dynamic and change the way we do things in order to make sure that our children aren't lacking in what they need, our spouses aren't lacking in what they need, and that takes purposeful and research,
And hard conversations.
yeah, sometimes hard conversations
really,
too.
Yeah.
And so, for example, recently, my oldest, he's getting ready. He got his learner's permit. He's going to start driving. And one of the things that I was taught as a teenager was working on vehicles. My first vehicle, which I still have, is a 1969 Ford Bronco. And if I wanted to go out and drive around, that thing had to be working, which sometimes it didn't. And so I had to learn how to fix it. And so fast forward, it's like, okay, I need to make sure and be purposeful and not just go out and work on things and fix it myself and do it on my timeline. Okay, Corbin, come on, we gotta go out and we gotta do this because these are life tools. And explain to him the processes, explain why it's beneficial. And so that's just an example. Whatever is working on in your life or whatever you want your children to be equipped to do, then you need to try and make the effort to do it. And I think that's really what it's come down to and what we're trying to impress is being dynamic and understanding that things are lacking in our households simply because of our busy bustle of life. We don't want to rely on everybody else to raise our kids. We need to be parents because that's what parents are doing. And so we have to figure out, okay, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to teach. And as we've included in some of our other videos, that means sitting down once a week and laying out, okay, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
So, and if that means shifting some of the responsibilities, such as now I'm cooking twice a week. I gotta, that's one of my roles, the grill master. No.
That's right, babe. Yes, grill master. Actually, he is really good at the grill.
So.
Right. And so we actually sat down and we kind of discussed like what are our roles. And the first thing Josh told me one of my roles was like being a teacher. Like I teach my kids, but I was like, but so are you. We're just different. We teach different things, but we both do these things. There are some things like, what else is on here? Like raising the children, like the day-to-day raising of the children, but that doesn't stop. We both do those things. There are obviously some things, though, that only I can do and only he can do. Yeah. I'm the one who birthed the babies. I'm the one who nursed them all. That was my role. It's my job. It's exclusive to me, which I loved. And then there are things that you're doing that I can't do. I don't feel that I can do, or I wouldn't do as good of a job, right? I can't teach our boys how to be men. I can't. Yeah. And so we do have gender-specific roles, but there are other things I think that people think that it is what is expected of you. And it's really important to sit down and to evaluate the household, like he was saying, and see what the family needs as a whole.
Yeah. I mean, and again, you have to see where you're lacking and make adjustments. It's easy for us to sit here and say, okay, this is what one does another, but what if your situation is different? What if you're a single mom, right? I heard a statistic just recently back in the 1970s that in the African American community, only 24% of the households had one parent, the mom. Fast forward to right now, it's 80%, and so automatically they're behind the curve if they're having young boys. How do they fulfill the things that those boys need? And that means sitting down and thinking, okay, what do I need? That means I need to find a role model, someone I can trust, a sports coach, put them in sports, a pastor or someone at church, someone that is an example of the man that you want your son to be, and you set up a mentorship situation, because that's the only way, you're going to be able to make sure, or one of the ways you can make sure that,
if that's important to you.
Yeah,
which begs the question, I don't think there's an answer to it, but like, where do we get mentors? We all need mentors. Mm-hmm. We all need different people in our life who have different skills and stuff. I don't have the skill of woodworking, and so Josh is building bookshelves downstairs, and thankfully we have a friend who is skilled in woodworking, so we call him in, like, help us, and he is. Yeah. So
thanks, Matt.
Yeah, if you're watching, thanks. It's really important to find mentors for your family as well. Once again, going back to that idea of having like a more tight-knit community, you could reach out to different people with different skills, and you could trade your skills and stuff, and we just don't really have that. And so be flexible. Josh is flexible. Sometimes he goes out and gets clothes for the kids when, take this kid and go get whatever they need for this project, and he goes and he does it. I've never, not once, heard that's not my job.
Yeah.
I don't think.
If we're this far along and we have that mentality, then
you're in trouble.
Yeah. I'm in trouble?
No. I mean, if we were to say that to each other, as a whole, we would be in trouble, because
there'd be some resentment, some bitterness, and things that going on, which we don't want.
We don't. So I think we're wrapping it up. I encourage you to talk to your spouse. Once again, what do you say? Unmet expectations, or expectations that were never...
Unspoken expectations or expectations that probably won't get met.
Yeah. So if you want change, you have to start talking about those expectations in a calm, kind, loving, realistic way. Yeah. And you might not fit into any wife-husband norm, and that's okay. You don't have to. All right. Anything else?
None of that I can think of.
Okay. That was awesome. Bye, everybody.